Steve Bannon got a chance to voice his disappointment in these results as well.
Something's got to change here. This is a huge defeat today for the president of the United States. And somebody's got to be straight with the president and saying, look, people think that you're an easy target now. And people in the White House get paid to make sure these types of things don't happen. It's just not acceptable. This was a blowout. You can't look at it any other way. And I realize people are misleading people, but let's be honest. This ain't Tallahassee or Albany. This is Indianapolis, okay? If you can't handle it in Indianapolis, you're not going to be able to handle it as we get into the tougher ones here, sir.
This was a blowout. I want to, again, put that into the terms of what it that Donald Trump talked about. He said he's won this state in a landslide 3 times. I don't have the numbers at my fingertips, but, fine. We'll go with that. Donald Trump won the state of Indiana in a landslide 3 times. Steve Bannon just said this was an ass whooping. This was devastating. This was a blowout. A blowout in the state that you won 3 times. I think that's a signal of how bad things really are. I'm not sure how they're going to take this and maybe take their next steps, because right now all they know is intimidation, threats, and violence. Is that the next steps for Indiana? Is that what he's cooking and brewing up? Let's listen to the guest that Steve Bannon had on and see if he gives us any indication that maybe that's going to be their next steps, or maybe they're creating some targets within their own party.
Steve, you've got the enemy within our party that are willing to work with the Democrats, and that's a huge task at hand. And I think it's hard to control these things. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses, but I think the reality is.
Are you saying? Hang on. Are you saying the scoop here? Hang on. Are you saying the scoop here is that the Indiana Republicans reached out to Wes Moore and agreed that Wes Moore will not try to push for 8-0 in Maryland, and they won't try to push here? That's the deal they cut?
Now being reported. So they reached out to this guy, Bob Ferguson, name I've never heard of, but it's now breaking on the internet. He's, I think, their state Senate president. And the reality, Steve, is they tricked them and said, hey, we're not going to redistrict if you don't redistrict. And the reality is they can't redistrict in Maryland because they get tossed, and we would probably actually pick up a seat there. I mean, what type of Republican, Steve, okay, who's in touch with the White House is reaching out to Democrats to cut a deal? I mean, these are vicious, psychotic people that we're up against. And I think, look, turning point, there were a lot of groups here on the ground working. I think it's tough to control these things, obviously, from afar. And I think it's a wake-up call for everyone that it's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of shoulders to the wheel to really rid ourselves of this taint within our own party. People that are willing to put the Democrats first and, put the House majority at risk. I mean, this is really sick stuff, Steve.
I want you to see the normalization here. They talk so fast and make it seem so normal. It's sick stuff to speak to Democrats. And in his mind, putting Democrats above Republicans, because apparently they spoke with some Democrats who said, hey, how about we have a normal democracy here and we're not gerrymander all these seats? I'm not sure what the conversations that he's talking about were had, but they were tricked into this whole thing. Somehow they think that's going to, or at least this particular guy is talking about how that's a problem. It's foolish to do all this stuff. That's their vision for this country. It's Republicans have to literally take seats, not win them, not convince voters to vote for them. And that's where they're landing right now. This is devastating them that people voted the way that their constituents wanted them to. Isn't that weird? It's like they don't believe in democracy. Here's Indiana State Senator Michael Bohacek. He had some opposition to Donald Trump, specifically on this issue before it happened, so we already knew that he was a no vote. This is him talking about exactly why.
It's bad policy, in my opinion, and the opinion of others. It makes the legislative process just too transactional. At least in my opinion, this is not a 2-year presidency. This isn't a 2-year Senate legacy. This is going to go on well after I'm gone and beyond. So let's treat it like that.
Did you ever think that the pressure campaign might work?
I was a little concerned. Obviously the threats of removing resources from your state are always a concern, but we have to also look that many of the funding sources that come from the feds are statutory. Medicaid, SNAP, those are entitlement programs. Those are going to continue to flow. Road funding will continue to flow. maybe some discretionary grant funding might become in jeopardy, but then we're going to have to lean on our congressional delegation to make sure that they're doing their jobs to do the best for our citizens of the state of Indiana.
Yeah, and I should be clear, when I say pressure campaign, I'm not just talking about, the president's threat to primary people who voted no, which he did threaten, and I believe you're not up until 2028, right?
That's correct.
But it goes beyond just the politics. I mean, there were bomb threats at your home. Do you believe that was because of this?
Yeah, unfortunately, it was. It was right after Thanksgiving. I had released a post about my displeasure over some the slur that the president used. So we received a bomb threat that night at about 1 o'clock in the morning. Of course, I had to wake up my family. We had to have bomb dogs search property around my house. Since then, my family's been staying with friends. I'm down at the State House now until the end of the week, and they're still not staying at home. So it's very disruptive. I do have small children as well, so it's been a tough couple of weeks.
This is the guy I remember talking about on the Damage Report with John. This is the guy who was threatened by all of Trump's supporters because he decided to come out against him. The reason he came out against him, which I was kind of against him on because it seemed like it was a just because it happened to me moment, which I understand, but for some reason they had no, sympathy beforehand. I'm willing to pull back a little bit on that criticism, considering the good news of today. Because this is what he said at the time. Many of you have asked my position on redistricting. I've been unapologetic advocate for people with intellectual disabilities since the birth of my second daughter. Those of you that don't know me or my family might not know that my daughter has Down syndrome. This is not the first time our president has used these insulting and derogatory references, and his choices of words have consequences. Then he says, I'll be voting no on redistricting. Perhaps he can use the next 10 months to convince voters that his policies and behavior deserve a congressional majority. That was him speaking truth, and he was pushed that way because of Donald Trump's insults towards folks. And he's got a daughter with Down syndrome. He called the Minnesota governor, Mike Walz, the R word in another post. All this has been crashing down around him. He's got the president himself has this weird, like, grand idea of his influence, which honestly has gone further than it should have, but it's gone so far that he's willing to just start throwing barbs, throwing arrows at everyone. In this particular case, it just didn't work. So I guess the next question is he in this administration and his handlers and the heritage folks, the Project 2025 architects, are they going to start realizing maybe we pull it back a little bit and keep our authoritarianism going, but we can't attack Republicans to disagree because that's the one thing that's going to make them turn? Sadly, that's kind of be the only the one thing that's going to make them turn. The attacks have gone in that direction now.